And as a Jew too, I understood that I really never access to the Hebrew scriptures. I just need to believe what the rabbis say to me. And they told me that the Messiah would come and bring the redemption, but I never understood what redemption really means. And when I read the Hebrew scriptures, I came across to the sacrificial system. And I start to understand the blood, the redemption from the blood. And the Tanakh talk about the blood from the beginning to the end. But the Rebbe says that if you keep the Shabbat, the Kasher, the Alahot, this will be your spiritual level, and you will be righteous with God. So what is the difference between the Jewish customs of the Tanakh and what God gave to the Jewish people and the rabbinical teachings of today, and how did they undergo so many changes over time?
Yeah, so one historian said that Judaism is no more the religion of the Old Testament than Catholicism is the religion of the New Testament. So in both cases, there's the belief that God gave authority to the synagogue leaders or the church leaders, and it was up to them to interpret the law, the teachings for each generation, and to develop their own traditions, which would also have authority. So in Rabbinic Judaism, there are many, many things a traditional Jew does every day, and there's nothing in scripture about it. The Mishnah even says that while you have, say, many, many laws about sacrifices and things like that, the laws for the Sabbath are just like hanging by a thread, because there's so much being put on them, but so little actually in scripture. So traditional Jews believe that God gave Moses the written law that we all have, and an oral law as well. He gave him the explanation for the written commandments and keys of interpretation to pass on. So it's for each generation now to use these oral traditions to open up the law, and then to develop ongoing traditions so that the rabbis have the authority to develop ongoing traditions as God's representatives on earth. That in that sense, the law is something living that continues to develop as new situations arise. So what a traditional Jew is very familiar with is the traditions of the rabbis. Like, why do you get up at a certain time in the day and pray certain prayers? That's not found in the scripture. Why do you say that we light the Sabbath candles as the Lord commanded when there's no such command in scripture? Well, because those are the commands of the rabbis. What if someone says, but God says this, and I have a prophecy saying this, and here's a miracle to confirm it? You don't listen to the prophet or the miracle, you listen to the majority who say that we are the teachers and leaders of Israel. So ultimately, with no sacrifice, without the central means of atonement there anymore, blood, which is spoken of over and over and over in the Torah, without the substitutionary sacrificial system, you now need to develop other traditions. So you say, well, prayer takes the place of sacrifice, or giving, tzedakah, takes the place of sacrifice, or tshuva, repentance, takes the place of sacrifice, or even personal suffering that you go through takes the place of sacrifice. So traditions were developed in the absence of the blood, and we would say, no, the blood remains central. And the reason that there's no more temple is because God has given us a better way through the Messiah's death on the cross.